SummerSlam 2022. A PLE that coming into it was supposed to be the second biggest show of the year compared to WrestleMania. But coming into this event, the biggest news wasn't even SummerSlam. It was the fact that Vince McMahon retired. Not too long before this, Vince McMahon posted probably one of the most legendary tweets on the platform, that he was stepping down. And it was also revealed shortly after that Triple H would be running the creative side of things. And it was weird that the fact that SummerSlam wasn't even the biggest talking point of WWE at this time. It was Vince McMahon, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon. And even though that we know now that Vince McMahon isn't exactly out of the picture, at this time, Vince McMahon was out of the picture. And there was someone named not Vince McMahon running the second biggest show of the year compared to WrestleMania. So the SummerSlam went from being an okay hype show to being one of the most hyped up shows of the year. And SummerSlam 2022 not ended up being one of the best SummerSlams in some memory, but ended up being one of the best overall shows from 2022. Here's a look back at a show that happened 1 year ago today. SummerSlam 2022. We got things started off with probably the best looking match on the card. It was a rematch from their match of the year candidate at WrestleMania. Bianca versus Becky Lynch. At this time, Becky was playing her awesome sort of Karen heelish character, and Bianca was easily the biggest babyface in the company at the time. The match was obviously very, very good. Bianca had to kick out of a manhandle slam and the disarmer. Both of these women were going back and forth. The crowd was really good as well during this night, and it was a really, really good match. A Becky and Bianca match should not miss, and my goodness that these women have just perfect chemistry. I don't think there's a Becky and Bianca match that would ever go wrong, because these two women just seem like they were meant to fight each other. And during this time, there was no women that got more reactions than Becky and Bianca. So this match really felt like a WrestleMania match happening, and the fact that it kicked off the night, I really like that. To this day, I still really love that decision that they kicked off the night. Big matches like this should kick off the night, because I feel like you need to get the crowd into it. And this was a perfect way to get the crowd into it. Honestly, if I rebooked it, I would seriously consider this match to maybe potentially be the main event of the show. But something sad happened during the match. Becky picked up a legit injury. If you watch back, it's a very nasty landing on the shoulder, and it broke Becky's shoulder instantly. Becky carried on, and the match ended up being another 4 to 5 star classic. Obviously, the right winner was Bianca Belair. Coming into the night, obviously a lot of people thought Bianca should retain the title, and Bianca did just that. But unfortunately, Becky was going to be out a while. But that didn't really matter. Becky and Bianca just kicked off SummerSlam with an absolute banger, and both of these women should feel proud. And now, nowadays, in 2023, we're almost a year since their last PLE match. I do miss the Becky and Bianca rivalry. But obviously, we had the night started off big. Bianca retained her title. Obviously, Becky was injured, but the match delivered. And at the end of the day, I don't think anything could really be better. You know, SummerSlam got kicked off great, and the Triple H era has kicked off great. But Bayley returned. And this was the first time in over a year we've seen Bayley. She had a pretty nasty knee injury, and Bayley was back. Full Karen Bayley. We got exactly what we wanted. Bayley wasn't going to return as a hugger. We weren't going to get a stupid gimmick change. They kept a Bayley gimmick, which is now my favorite gimmick of hers. And Bayley returned, and Bayley didn't take on to indicate that she was a Karen again. But, obviously, this was one of the biggest returns of the year. Bayley was back, the first return of the Triple H era, and it was probably going to be some of people's favorite return of the year. Bayley is not only one of the best modern-day women's superstars, but maybe deserves a spot on the women's Mount Rushmore. Bayley has done it all, through gimmicks, through everything. Bayley is WWE through and through. She has achieved almost everything that you would want as a women's competitor in the WWE, probably only besides winning the Royal Rumble match. But just when you thought that Bayley was going to confront Bianca, and that we were going to get a Bianca and Bayley rivalry, we weren't done there, because the Triple H era would kick into overdrive. Dakota Kai's music hit. Everyone was shocked. Bianca had probably the best reaction to it with her shocked face. She did not know at all that Dakota Kai was showing up. Maybe she did kind of have a hint that Bayley was going to... Maybe someone told her that Bayley was going to show up. But probably no idea that these next two women would show up. Dakota Kai is not only one of the most underrated NXT women's superstars, but should have easily been an NXT women's champion for the amount of work that she put in. Probably the best NXT women's star of all time not to have a reign with the NXT women's title. But Dakota Kai came back and she looked more ready and more badass than ever. But the biggest question wasn't even Dakota. Dakota Kai was unsigned at this point, and at literally 24 hours before, she was still considering other companies. Dakota Kai has said before that this happened so rapidly, and I believe her, because literally all the reaction was shocked faces, and no one could quite believe it. And Dakota Kai could have without the Triple H regime, Dakota Kai would have easily been in a different company and would have been working for someone else. But now, Dakota Kai was back where I think she belongs. The WWE. I cried during this moment because, as you guys may know, I'm a huge Dakota Kai fan, and I've been a fan of her since she was in Stardom. So to see Dakota Kai return on a SummerSlam stage instantly got tears flowing in my eyes. Dakota Kai is just so good and underrated, and outside of WWE, she has an absolute fantastic personality, and she's a gamer. But Dakota Kai's return was great. But people were wondering, what is she doing with Bayley? Why on earth is she with Bayley? Well, we would get our answer. Because Io Shirai, one of the best women's stars in the world, and one of my favorite all-time NXT women's champions, showed up. Her, probably one of the most long-awaited NXT call-ups ever, came true. Sure, a lot of people had no idea who she was, but the real ones did know who she was. And just like that, one of the best women's WWE's main roster got a major jolt up. Io Shirai, or Io Sky, is just such a good wrestler. Consistent bangers, and Triple H knew exactly how to book her in NXT. Io Sky fought everybody that there is in NXT. And that's exactly how you book Io Sky. She's so good, you can put her in the ring with anybody. The right way to book Io Sky is to put her in title opportunities and have her fight everybody, because she delivers that good of a match. And hence, after this, Damage Control was born. The first ever Triple H creation of his era was an absolute huge one. Bayley, mentoring two of the best NXT women's stars, Dakota Kai and Io Sky, and it was time for these women to take over the women's division, and all of a sudden Monday Night Raw's women's division just got jolted up and became a must-see thing. And for them to confront Bianca and Becky, the two women stars who were running Monday Night Raw at the time, was an absolute perfect way to approach it. Probably one of my favorite stare downs of all time was this. It's almost like the handing of the keys. It's like Bianca and Becky were like, even though they were confronting each other, they knew that Bayley, Dakota, and Io were next up. They were next up to get the big opportunities. We didn't know at this time that Damage Control's booking was going to suck. But this is what made it great. At this time, we maybe thought that Bayley was going to go after Bianca's title, and Dakota and Io were just going to take over. We thought that Monday Night Raw was going to belong to Damage Control. And with Becky's injury, a lot of people thought that after Becky's injury got legitimate, people thought this was going to lead to Damage Control not only taking the title off Bianca, or maybe Bayley taking the title off Bianca, but Damage Control was going to be the new biggest thing in the company on the women's side. Sadly, The booking of WWE's of Damage Control could be a lot better and should have been a lot better. But this is not only one of my favorite returns of all time, but this is easily one of the best SummerSlam moments of all time. I love returns that are not ruined by the internet, and this is an absolute prime example of one of those. Next up, we had Logan Paul versus Miz, a match that I actually was excited about going in. Some people didn't like this match, some people thought this match was cheesy, but I thought that this match was going to deliver. Because The Miz, honestly The Miz could fight a pine cone and it'll be good. The Miz has been involved in so many underrated matches, it's ridiculous. Logan Paul versus Miz was a fun watch. And obviously the whole point of this match was to get Logan Paul over the WWE Universe. The WWE Universe did get connected with Logan Paul. And Logan Paul versus The Miz had some great moments. The Miz had some offense, Logan Paul had some offense, Maurice played a perfect manager ringside, but nothing more. But I don't think we were all expecting Logan Paul to do this. At this point, Logan Paul was still early in his WWE career, but we all knew that Logan Paul was an absolute unreal athlete. And this was one of the most iconic shots of SummerSlam. Logan Paul leaping from the top rope, putting Miz through the announce table. I didn't think that this would happen in a Logan Paul and Miz match, but this made the match overachieving. And shortly after, Logan Paul picked up the win, which I was kind of hoping that he would. The WWE Universe, they booked this match perfectly. And it showed that Logan Paul was an athlete and was more than deserving to be in the WWE. Obviously, we knew The Miz wasn't winning, and obviously, we knew that WWE wasn't going to give The Miz this win. But this was at a time that we all loved what we were seeing from Logan Paul. Obviously, some people from his YouTube drama, some people will always hate Logan Paul. But as an athlete, I can respect the hell out of Logan Paul. Because he truly is an athlete. Next up, we had probably the most boring match of SummerSlam, which is Pat McAfee versus Baron Corbin. This match, obviously, I feel good that Baron Corbin and Pat McAfee got a spot on the card in front of all these people. But at the end of the day, I wasn't hooked. Obviously, Pat McAfee's a great announcer, and some of his matches are good, but this isn't a SummerSlam match. When the match started, it was pretty good. Obviously, this was the worst of all Baron Corbin gimmicks. So the only thing really hooked on this match is to see how Pat McAfee was going to do. He did pretty good. Obviously, Pat McAfee hit Baron Corbin in the nuts, won the match, which we all expected. The match didn't really last that long, which thank God it didn't. I wouldn't even be surprised if Triple H cut some time on the... I wouldn't be surprised if one of the first things that Triple H did is cut some time in this match. Probably under the Vince era, this match could have probably eclipsed 20 minutes. Who knows? But at least this match didn't last that long. But obviously, it was good to see Pat McAfee win. And Baron Corbin's sinking to the bottom continued. Next up, we had a match that I was really looking forward to. Rey and Dom would team with each other on a PLE for the first time ever to take on the early version of the Judgment Day with Damian Priest and Finn Balor. It was no disqualification, so this match was going to be great. And obviously, this match was going to be awesome, and it was. Obviously, the Judgment Day were doing a lot of dirty tactics. But the biggest thing wasn't even the match itself. The Judgment Day were about to brutally beat down the Mysterios until we got our second return of the night on the male side. Edge. Edge came back, and obviously everyone knew that Edge was gonna come back eventually and fight the Judgment Day, and it happened at SummerSlam. Edge came back. Brood Edge came back in probably one of the most sickest entrances I've seen. And the man destroyed Judgment Day, and the Mysterios won. Just an all-around feel-good moment. And to see Edge in a ring with Rey Mysterio and Dom was just a really good moment. The fans absolutely loved it. And at this point of the show, SummerSlam was riding the hell high. 2 returns, Rey Mysterio and Edge in the same ring, Logan Paul and Miz over-delivered, and Pat McAfee had a match. Bianca and Becky had a banger. So far, SummerSlam was living up to the hype. And it was going to continue to accelerate from here. Next up, we had a match that we also knew was going to deliver. The Usos and Street Profits. We all knew that this match was going to be good if you watch Money in the Bank. And the rematch would happen at SummerSlam. And obviously, the Street Profits and the Usos went at each other. Back and forth, primetime wrestling. And at this time, the Street Profits and Usos were easily the top 2 tag teams. Obviously, the Judgment Day wasn't over at this point, so I consider the Usos and Street Profits to be the top 2 teams at this time. And with special referee Jeff Jarrett, this match was so much better with Jeff Jarrett as referee. By now, you know that Jeff Jarrett is comedy gold. And he turned this banger match, and he added a new element. With a banger match going on and Jeff Jarrett's refereeing, this match just exploded being great. It didn't top their Money in the Bank ladder match. It didn't top their match that they had at Money in the Bank, but it was still a very awesome match. And the right result happened at the end of the day with the Usos retaining the titles. But a lot of people thought the Street Profits should have won at this time. The Street Profits were flying high, and they definitely deserve. And I think it was overdue to have the Street Profits with the tag titles. And obviously at this time, the Usos have already won a lot of tag titles. So why not have the Street Profits win some? But at the end of the day, the Street Profits were left disappointed. But obviously we were proud of them because they were delivering bangers. And obviously, it's still a weird image now to see Jeff Jarrett holding the Usos' hands up. But this was one of the last things that Jeff Jarrett did before he went to AEW. The match was really, really good. And once again, another SummerSlam banger delivered. Next up, let's look at the disappointments. On paper, Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's title is really, really good. We had debatably my favorite women's Money in the Bank cash-in. Liv Morgan cashed it on Ronda. So, Ronda facing Liv Morgan for the title at SummerSlam was an easy booking decision. But, however, the match itself wouldn't deliver at all. It was really the first moment of, we were kind of sick of Ronda. Obviously, a lot of people wanted Liv to retain anyway. And even if Ronda wasn't totally, getting booed all over the place at this time, a lot of people thought it would be stupid for Liv Morgan to lose here, me included. Obviously, the match went a decent amount of time, but there just wasn't anything to get hooked by. Obviously, I was proud to see Liv Morgan in a big spot moment, but nothing of this match really caught the human eye at all. But the finish of the match made it even worse. So, Ronda Rousey had her armbar in, and Liv Morgan had a unique, but Liv Morgan basically retained the title by roll-up. It was a very, very weird moment, because Liv Morgan tapped, and technically, looking at the replay, Liv Morgan should have lost the title. It was a weird moment. WWE tried to pull something, but it didn't end up pulling it. They didn't pull it off successfully. And this match ended up being a match that we all wanted to forget from a good night. Which is a shame, because I really wanted this match to deliver, and I thought that this match was going to deliver. But at the end of the day, it just didn't. Obviously, Liv Morgan's reign would be not that good, but it wasn't her fault. That half the time was spent fighting Ronda Rousey, and a lot of questionable booking decisions. But Liv Morgan holding on to the title was ultimately the win of the night, because I would have been mad if Ronda Rousey would have won the title at SummerSlam. Next up, we had a match that was pretty good. Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory wasn't exactly a huge caliber SummerSlam match, but it was good. It was a little bit good. Obviously it's never a bad thing to see Austin Theory thrown around. At this time, Austin Theory was Money in the Bank. So realistically, a lot of people knew that Bobby Lashley was probably going to win. Because at this time, not only Money in the Bank winners were losing matches, but would it really make sense for Austin Theory to win the United States title anyways? No, it didn't. Bobby Lashley spent a lot of the match dominating Mr. Money in the Bank. Austin Theory got in a little bit of offense, but it was the very slight offense that, the WWE Universe didn't really react to. At the end of the day, Austin Theory lost. Bobby Lashley kept his title, which he deserved, because Bobby Lashley was a pretty goddamn good United States champion. And at the end of the day, the match itself was alright. Nothing more. Nothing less. At this time, we didn't really hate Austin Theory. We thought that there was a lot of promise. And we were obviously all waiting for him to cash in later in the night. Because obviously, Roman Reigns versus Brock again, perfect opportunity for someone to sneak in. And especially under the Triple H era, a lot of people had under the impression that Austin Theory was cashing in. But Bobby Lashley retaining was the right call. Next up, our main event. Probably the best ever Brock versus Roman match was about to commence. The last man standing ruling already had me hella excited, but obviously the match had to deliver, and it did. And the excitement really started before the match even kicked off. Brock Lesnar came rolling in on a tractor. And that really got the things kicked off. Brock Lesnar rolling in like he's on his farm on a tractor really just lifted up the excitement. And the tractor really became the story of the last man standing match early on. Brock and Roman were exchanging blows. Brock threw Roman on a tractor, lifted him up and down. It was funny. And obviously Brock on a tractor became an instant meme. And it was a meme for a lot of months. This match was really, really good, but the tractor brought in a brand new element. It just wasn't Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns spamming finishers. We actually got a match that had a good flow. And see what happens when you don't have a Brock and Roman match that spam finishers? They can actually deliver a pretty damn good match. The match, obviously with Last Man Standing, this match happened all over the place. These men fought everywhere. And it was very fun to watch Brock and Roman actually get a lot of time, because they really turned it into something special. And the WWE Universe was actually connected. They weren't booing Brock and Roman at this time. Obviously, the gimmicks were really good at the time. Brock's babyface turn was really good. The Tribal Chief was really, really good. But we needed the match to be good. It seemed like the WWE Universe realized in real time that we were actually getting a special Roman and Brock match. And then we had one of the all-time SummerSlam moments, and one of the craziest moments in WWE history. Brock Lesnar lifted the ring, not with nobody in it, but with Roman Reigns in it. The way that Roman Reigns fell out of the ring was hilarious. The WWE Universe was saying, holy shit. And Brock Lesnar looked like a bona fide badass. And at this time, this was the ultimate time for Brock Lesnar to get Roman Reigns down for the count of 10. And to win the championship. This is by far one of the most iconic shots. And this is a moment that I will always remember from SummerSlam. And if you want to talk to me about SummerSlam moments, this is nearly number one on the list. But, as all things should, the Bloodline wasn't going to let Brock win. The Usos came out, destroyed Brock. Austin Theory tried to cash in, but was quickly met with an F5, and just like that, Austin Theory wasn't going to cash in successfully on this night. And at the end of the day, the rest of the Bloodline, the Usos, and a little bit of stuff from Paul Heyman, led to this iconic shot of Roman Reigns keeping Brock Lesnar for the count of 10 and continuing his long championship reign, and Roman Reigns ultimately getting the last laugh on Brock Lesnar. Not only that we just witnessed the best Roman and Brock match in my opinion, but we witnessed one of the best last man standing matches I've ever seen. This match truly was exactly what a last man standing match was supposed to be. Absolutely intensity until a man can't get up. And at SummerSlam ended with the Bloodline on top, which we could have all guessed, but since a lot happened earlier in the night, which was exciting, we were just as excited. And obviously, at this time, a lot of people wanted Roman to retain, because obviously at this time, Roman's reign wasn't really that long. So a lot of people were along with the ride with Roman, and until this day, we still haven't had another Brock versus Roman match, which is probably for the best, and I still think there shouldn't be, because if this was the last Brock versus Roman match, this is a satisfying conclusion that they had their best one. They had their best one be their last one. So SummerSlam 2022 went off the air with WWE Universe absolutely excited. The Triple H era was underway. The SummerSlam 2022 went from a mid-card to a overachieving masterpiece. And coming out of the night, WWE's never felt so high in a long time. We truly felt like that WWE was only going to get better. And obviously on the next show, Clash at the Castle, it did. And this was easily a great time to be a WWE fan. Thanks for watching.